and I put in to search engines things like, what pharmaceutical drugs are negatively impacted by nicotine? In other words, if, as they say, nicotine is one of the greatest detoxifiers ever, then it would make sense that, as all drugs are toxic, that if you took nicotine with a pharmaceutical drug, it would be less effective. And it turns out to be the case. Researching it, there are just hundreds and hundreds of pharmaceuticals that you shouldn't take with nicotine. And they even said, the government, or somebody said a couple of years ago, that people who were smokers were less affected by negative vaccine impact than the non-smokers. Now, I'm not suggesting you need to smoke, right? But when I was working with a medical doctor some 20-odd years ago, he was convinced that nicotine was a great medicine. And the shamans in South America, one of the first rituals they do is light loads of tobacco and blow it over you to detoxify you before the ceremony or whatever begins. So, whatever they don't want you to have, be very wary of. Whatever they do want you to have, veganism, for example, vaccines, be careful. I've seen people fixed with vegan diets. I've also seen people destroyed by them. It's quite funny that, because I've been at this for a few decades, so to speak, some of the people, when I started, who were absolute raw vegan advocates, pretty much every single one of them changed their mind. It might have taken 20 or 30 years. But vegans run out of taurine, the amino acid you only get from meat. And taurine's about healthy eyes, which I do a magnesium supplement, and I put magnesium taurinate in there as one of the ingredients specifically for the vegans. Vegans don't realize that they're not getting the B vitamins that they should be, particularly B12. And as I mentioned earlier, B12 deficiency can end up looking like Parkinson's and MS and stuff. And unfortunately, by the time you've got a serious B12 deficiency, it might take a decade or more. It's not easy to reverse that one. Some things are easy. That one's not quite so easy. So, we have to be very, very careful about what we put in our bodies. Holland and Barrett, up until recently, if you buy your supplements there, up until recently they were owned by arms dealers. Solgar were owned by the same arms dealers, the Carlyle Group. It does suit the industry, the pharmaceutical industry, to take over all health companies, maybe dilute the products, tell you not to take enough of it, whatever it is. People tell me all the time, I tried magnesium, didn't work. Well, how many did you take? 1, 2. What make was it? What brand was it? What type of magnesium? I say, look, you think you've tried magnesium, but you haven't. I take 8 magnesium capsules a day, which sounds like loads, but it's really bulky. But it gets people out of pain. Almost everybody in this room, if you've got muscle aches, joint aches, pain, migraines, headaches, anxiety, panic attacks, muscle cramps, menstrual cramps, spasms, restless legs, sleep problems, all those and loads more are magnesium deficiency. Everybody in this room is probably low on magnesium because we're all stressed in life more than we should be.